36 years ago, Ogogo stood at the burial of one of Yoruba theatre's greatest legends and helped send him home. Today, the roles have painfully reversed. The man who once raised his voice to honor Hubert Ogunde is now the one Yoruba cinema has gathered to mourn, Taiwo Hassan. The man millions of us simply knew as Ogogo is gone at 66. But there is something about the way this story has come full circle that is hitting differently. Because for many Nigerians, we didn't just watch Ogogo, we grew up with him. Hello, Sisi Nation. There are actors you enjoy, and then there are actors whose faces immediately take you back to another time in your life. Ogogo belonged to that second group. If you grew up watching Yoruba movies, especially during the home video years, you probably don't even need somebody to explain who Taiwo Hassan was. That face, that voice, that commanding presence. Sometimes he was the father, sometimes the traditional ruler, sometimes the strict man everybody feared, sometimes the character who would make one decision and scatter the entire family. But somehow, Ogogo always felt familiar. And on Sunday, August 23rd, 2026, that chapter closed. Taiwo Hassan died at the age of 66 after battling cancer. And just one day later, family, colleagues, and fans gathered in his hometown of Ilaro to say goodbye. But Sisi Nation, there is one detail about his final bow that I cannot stop thinking about. Go back to May 1990. Yoruba theatre was mourning another giant, Hubert Ogunde, and among the performers who helped honor Ogunde during his burial rites was a younger Taiwo Hassan. Ogogo reportedly joined the chanters who rendered oriki and dirges for the theatre legend. Think about that picture for a moment. A younger Ogogo standing there as one generation of Yoruba theatre said goodbye to one of its giants. 36 years later, Ogogo is the giant being sent home. There is something almost cinematic about it. The young performer who once helped honor a legend lived long enough to become one himself. And now another generation of actors is standing where he once stood. But his journey makes that moment even more powerful, because Ogogo wasn't somebody who simply appeared one day and became famous. Before millions of Nigerians knew his face, he worked as a mechanic. He spent years balancing regular work with acting. He began acting in 1981 and didn't leave his government job to concentrate fully on the profession until 1994. Imagine that. Years of working, years of performing, years of building something before becoming one of the most recognizable faces in Yoruba cinema. And eventually, Ogogo became bigger in the public imagination than Taiwo Hassan. Interestingly, that name wasn't created by Nollywood. Ogogo explained during his lifetime that it was a family praise name he had adopted long before fame arrived. And what a career followed. Ogogo wasn't only an actor, he worked as a producer, director, and screenwriter. From Agbelebu and Owo Blow to Omogeto, Tenant of the House, Bank Alert, and eventually Aníkúlápó. His career traveled through different eras of Nigerian filmmaking: VHS, home video, cinema, streaming, different generations, different audiences, but somehow Ogogo remained. And then Aníkúlápó did something particularly beautiful. It introduced him again to a generation that may not have been there for the old Yoruba home video days. Suddenly, younger Nigerians were watching this veteran actor as Aláàfin Adémúyìwá. He even received an AMVCA nomination for the performance more than 40 years after he started acting. the story wasn't finished. Unfortunately, the final chapter came painfully days before his death. His daughters publicly revealed that their father was battling stage 4 cancer. They were appealing for medical assistance and information that might help their father. Then came Sunday. His daughter Kira confirmed that her father had died, and suddenly those old movie clips didn't feel quite old anymore, because when somebody has been on our screens for decades, we almost unconsciously assume they will always be there until they are not. And you can see that feeling in the tribute. Femi Adebayo described him as a true pillar of Yoruba cinema. Muyiwa Ademola described his passing as the end of an era. Saidi Balogun mourned someone he regarded as a brother. And today in Ilaro, familiar faces from the industry have gathered for his final farewell. But perhaps the greatest tribute isn't what celebrities are saying today. It's what happened during those 40+ years before today. Because Ogogo's story is also the story of how Nollywood changed. He started before the Nollywood we know today really existed. He witnessed the transition from traveling theater traditions into the home video explosion. He lived through the days when Nigerians rented VHS tapes and VCDs. He survived the cinema transition. Then streaming arrived, and somehow this man who started acting in 1981 was still appearing before new generation on Netflix more than 4 decades later. That is rare. Fame can make you popular for a reason. Legacy allows different generations to know your name, and Ogogo achieved the second one. But Sisi Nation, this death has made me think about something. Who are the actors working today that you genuinely believe will still be talking about 40 years from now? Not because they trended, not because they had millions of followers, not because one movie went viral. I'm talking about the people whose work will become part of Nigerian cultural memory. Because Ogogo's career reminds us that there is a difference between being famous and leaving a legacy. So who from today's Nollywood do you believe will have that kind of staying power? Tell me one name. 36 years ago, Ogogo helped Yoruba theatre say goodbye to Hubert Ogunde. Today, another generation has gathered to say goodbye to him. And maybe that's how an artistic tradition survives. One generation tells the stories, another generation learns from them. Then eventually, they become the elders whose names the next generation remembers. From a mechanic balancing work with acting to one of Yoruba cinema's most recognizable faces, to an Alaafin watched by a new generation. Taiwo Hassan completed an extraordinary journey. Rest well, Ogogo, and thank you for the stories. Sisi Nation, if you grew up watching Ogogo, what is the first movie, character, or memory that comes into your mind when you hear his name? I especially want the old school Nollywood people in the comments for this one. Let's remember him together. And if stories about the people who shaped Nigerian entertainment matters to you, subscribe and join Sisi Nation.
Wàá gbọ́ tòló